All right, all right. Oh, man. All right, all right. All praises going to the Most High. Most High Yah and His only begotten Son. Hallelujah. We give Him all the praise, all the glory, and all the honor. So we thank Him for allowing us to be in His house one more time and to come before you. We say shalom, shalom. Come on into Yah's house. It's going to be all right. And we do welcome you from near and far. I need to get as good as Coty Parker in our welcome. And actually go ahead and like and share and throw those hearts up. And if you got a question or something that's pertaining to the lesson, we certainly will try to answer your question. I believe that you should ask questions, and questions should be answered if they could be answered. Questions should be answered. If you ever find yourself someplace to where the answers can't be questioned, then you're in a cult. If you ever find yourself in a place where the answers cannot be questioned, then you're in a cult. And so, and I know, I know times where you could not question the teacher, the feeder, and once they gave their answer, that was it. That was it. You couldn't say, well, wait a minute. What about the, no, that's it. And you get completely shut down. But we're, the only one that is above reproach is our Master, our Messiah, the only begotten of the Father. And we're going to crown him King of Kings. And he is above reproach. But every other man that's down here on earth can be approached, and you can ask them questions and you can question their answers. So certainly welcome everybody here tonight. And if you're not catching it live, good morning to you, good afternoon to you, good evening to you, whenever you're able to pick it up. So we're counting our Shabbats as we're leading up to Shavuot. Shavuot is the next event, the next feast that's on the calendar, and it's something that we are to follow. This is not the only feast that was given to Yasharal, as some might claim and think that the only feast that we keep now is Shavuot, what the world calls Pentecost. They were faithful in keeping Pentecost, mainly because Pentecost landed on the first day of the week, and you're in that trap. You're locked down to esteeming one day above all the other days. I find it interesting when people say, why are you talking about the Shabbat? You can't esteem one day above the other, but yet that's what they do. The first day, you take away the first day of the week, worship, they would be totally lost. How can you say that? Because when I stopped doing first day worship, and even before we stopped, if there was a first day or Sunday that I missed, I felt bad. I felt bad. I felt, I didn't feel like I committed sin, but I felt like, man, something's wrong. You kind of feel condemned or something. Wait a minute, something ain't right. And Sunday worship, the first day of the week worship, was instituted by Constantine. That's a historical fact. Because I know we got brothers and sisters in Sunday worship Christianity that will try to argue the point, but the historical fact is that Constantine started first day worship. And if we wanted to get back to the first century ecclesia or the called out assemblies, if we want to get back to them and back to our Messiah and do what they did when our Messiah was here and after he went off the scene, you wouldn't be doing first day worship, especially if you know what it meant. You wouldn't do it. But you're not going to get our people, our brothers and sisters, you're not going to get them out of first day worship. In fact, I would be surprised if they stop doing first day worship when our Messiah comes. And how can you say that? How can you say that? Because he's going to keep the Shabbat, and everybody that's with him is going to keep the Shabbat. But you're going to have those who are so entrenched and they're so locked in to first day worship. And I know because when I didn't go to church the first day of the week, I felt bad. So I know you have people, brothers and sisters out there that we know that will tell you you're sinning if you don't go to first day of worship. They'll tell you you're sinning. And that's not true. And I don't want us to believe that. That is not true. He's going to talk to you about keeping the Shabbat. That's what he's going to talk to you about. He ain't going to give no glory to Constantine. And so we're leading up to the Feast of Shabbat. And that is, you count 7 Sabbaths after the unleavened bread and first fruits. You count, or first fruits and unleavened bread, you count 7 Sabbaths. And then after 49, after that 7th Sabbath, the next day, which would be the 50th day. And that's what Pentecost means. It means to count to 50 or 50 count. That's what it means. And so where did they get it from? Was Shavuot or the day of Pentecost in the 2nd chapter of Acts, was that the first Pentecost? Was that the first Shavuot? So, you know, the Christian church would make you think that was the first Shavuot. That was the first Pentecost. No, they had done Pentecost or Shavuot for centuries, for hundreds of years. They had done Shavuot. And so we came out of Egypt and in Exodus chapter 13 and verse number 4, Exodus 13 and 4, we came out of Egypt. It says, this day came ye out in the month of Abib. He says that the 14th day of the month of Abib is when you have your Pesach. And so the new year started on the month of Abib. The new year did not start in the dead of winter. That's Pope Gregory and the empire that is the empire of iron that tries to mix with clay, but it says iron and clay will not mix. It's not going to mix. In fact, when they try to mix iron and clay, it made their empire weaker. And so when you look at who is the clay and who is the iron, and you try to mix it and bring it together, it weakened the empire. It didn't strengthen the empire. So even now, iron, the Roman religion, and clay, Yasharal, and what Yasharal believes and how still don't mix. He's trying to tell you we don't mix. You cannot mix Yasharal, Yahushua Mashiach, and his followers that he gave it to the 12 disciples when one of them was lost and we brought in Shaul. And they took the gospel to the world, not the Roman Empire. And so when you try to mix that clay with that iron and clay together, it says it's not going to mix. It's not going to mix. And that's what they did when it came down to the 10 nations that broke off from the iron from the Roman Empire, and they try to mix it with clay. And they've even to today. And that's why he tells us that we have to come out from among them. He says, come on out from among them and be ye separate. That's when he receives us, is when we come out from among them, because we ain't supposed to mix with them anyway. So the month that they came out of Egypt was a month of Bib, and the 14th day of this month is when they had Pesach, and you had first fruits and unleavened bread. It tells us to count 7 Sabbaths. So when you start to count 7 Sabbaths, how many months are you counting? When you start to count 7 Sabbaths, what are you looking at? How many months? Well, Exodus 16 and verse number 1. Exodus 16 and 1. It gives us a timeline leading up to Shavuot. It shows it here. And when they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month, after their departing where? Out of the land of Egypt. So now, this is, when they had Pesach, first fruits and unleavened bread, they were not moving. They were not moving as a camp. But after unleavened bread, they started to move and go on their journey. And so by the second month, because the first month was Abib, and the 14th day of the first month was Pesach, the 15th day was unleavened bread. The 15th day of every month on the Hebrew calendar is a full moon. It's a full moon. 15th day of every month. How do you know that? Because they started their month at the new moon. So as soon as you have a new moon, that's a new month. Now we start counting the days, and you'll have a full moon. So whenever you see a full moon up in the sky, that's the middle of the month. And then the moon starts to wane, and it goes down to where it disappears, and then you have to wait for the next new moon, and that lets you know that another month is getting ready to start. And that's how they followed. They followed through the teaching of the Most High Yah. They looked up to the skies to see the moon and the stars. They would navigate by the stars. They adjust their calendars by the moon. So here is the second month after they're departing out of the land of Egypt. So by now you've got, well, if the 14th day of Pesach, 15th day unleavened bread of the first month, now you've got the 15th day of the second month. You got that week of unleavened bread. You don't count that. So now you're talking about what, 3 or 4 Sabbaths? I mean, because they're counting the Sabbaths, right? 3 or 4 Sabbaths. By the time they get here, you're talking about 3 to 4 Sabbaths. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense? Okay, so if you got, Pesach was the 14th day of the month, right? He says, this is the month of Abib to you when you came out of Egypt. The month of Abib. It's the beginning of years to you. The 10th day, so when he told them that, they started to count 10 days. What were they supposed to do on the 10th day? Get the lamb on the 10th day. On the 14th day at even is when they would kill the lamb and they ate the Passover. That's the 14th day. The 15th day is actually when they came out of Egypt, but that was unleavened bread, and they weren't supposed to come out with any sin in the camp. They came out without any sin in the camp. So the 15th day marks the time that they actually came out of Egypt. So that's the 15th day of the first month. So the 15th day of the second month, how many weeks have to go by to get to the 15th day of the second month? Yeah, how many weeks? How many Sabbaths? 4. 4, right. But we have to remember they had unleavened bread. So we don't start counting the Shabbats until when? After the unleavened bread. So you're looking at about 3 weeks now. About 3 weeks of Sabbats, or we're counting the Sabbaths, to where they reach this point. They reach this point. Now, and then we see what happened. The whole congregation of the children of Yasharal murmured against Musha and Aharon in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, now remember, they murmured against them, and, let me hasten along because I want to show y'all something else, because the Most High Yah in the 34th chapter, or the 24th chapter, the Most High Yah told Musha, I've seen this people. This is a stiff-necked people. I've seen this people. So they always would murmur and complain. And one time with them murmuring, he started to slay them because of their murmuring and complaining. and he slayed them by the 1,000. Now we think we can sin, and he ain't gonna kill us. I'm a sin. You're one. You're one individual. You mean he would slay thousands at a time? And you're one person? And you think he's going to look past you? Or he's going to look past me? I'm so-and-so. No. When they start murmuring and complaining, he killed them by the 1,000. Most High Yah, when he slayed people, he slayed them by the thousands. So we can't, is 1,000 souls more valuable? At one time, I think when there was murmuring, complaining, I think about 20,000 maybe. Is that more valuable than your soul? But that's how we think a lot of times. The way we look at sin, we think we can just keep sinning. Oh, he's going to look over sin. That's not true. So let's go to, let me give you a highlight. This is the 15th day of the second month. 15th day of the second month. Let's scroll down here. Let's scroll down to about, let's see, verse 16, 17. Let's see, somewhere around there. Okay, let's go past 19. Let's see, because the Most High Yah says, I want to show you what he says. Okay, here, verse 27. And it came to pass that there went out some of the people on the seventh day for to gather. Now, see, the people were murmuring and complaining that we ate better in Egypt than what we have out here. You brought us out here to the wilderness, and we don't have Egypt cuisine. We ain't got all that. They called it flesh pots. We ain't eating that good out here. I mean, it was up there. I didn't read it, but it was up there. We're not eating that good out here. They started to murmur and complain. So he gives them manna in the morning and then quail in the evening. But he says, now manna, what I'm going to give you on manna, I'm only going to give it to you 6 days. The first day you gather and only take what you're going to eat for that day. Don't keep none till the next day, because what would happen to it? It would spoil and start stinking, and it turned to worms. So when people don't believe the Most High, because a lot of people don't, so they would keep the manna, and then all of a sudden it was stinking and turning to worms. Why is it turning to worms? He told you. He told you. So 6 days, he says, you collect it. He says on the 6th day, take enough for 2 days. Take enough for 2 days, because on the 7th day, there's not going to be any manna. Won't be any manna in the camp on the 7th day. But if you take enough for the 6th day and the 7th day, on the 6th day, you know what I'm saying? On the 6th day, you take enough for that day and the 7th day, and that's the only time it would not spoil. And it came to pass, there went out some of the people on what? The 7th day to gather, and they found none. That's why he said, I didn't see this people, y'all. You can tell them, even like today, you can tell them 6 days we work, 7th day we rest. You can tell his people that. Will his people do that? No, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. So listen to what he says. And Yahusha said unto Musha, how long refuse ye to do what? He hasn't gone up to Mount Sinai yet. We haven't got to Pentecost. We haven't got to Shavuot. We haven't got to Shavuot. Oh, you mean he gave commandments and laws before Shavuot? Because when you get to Shavuot, when he starts to give out Torah and he pours it out, he tells them to remember the Shabbat, right? And keep it holy. He says 6 days you work, 7th day you rest. Because I worked 6 days, he compared it to the creation. He says, I worked 6 days and the 7th day I rested. So if you do that, you're in line with me. You line up with me. So he says here, how long refuse ye to keep my commandments and my laws? Wait a minute, you haven't given any. That's what we think. We think, wait a minute, you haven't given no commandments. You haven't given no laws. How could you say that? How could you indict me on this and you haven't even given it to me yet? Well, in real quick, Genesis 26, verse number 5. Real quick. Because Abraham, what did he do? Obeyed my voice. Now this is Abraham. This was several generations. I would say they were in Egypt for 250 years, so this was hundreds of years. He says, Abraham obeyed my voice, kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. So a lot of that was passed down. That's why they had generational teaching. Fathers taught their sons. They taught their sons to teach their sons. I had a discussion today, and in the discussion, it's kind of a long. I don't even know if I want to get into it, but it'll take me too long. What I was going to say was the importance of generational teaching. If fathers dropped the ball and didn't teach their sons, and you broke that cycle of generational teaching, what would happen then? If you're to teach your sons, and not only teach them, but you have to teach them to be teachers so that they can teach their sons. And it was a generational thing. Well, if the fathers stopped doing that, what would happen? They would die out. They would forget. It would die off. They would lose their inheritance. Wait a minute. You'd have a generation like, ain't nobody taught us that. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Commandments and law. You ain't given us nothing yet. Oh, no, they were given. It was a generational thing where they were supposed to teach for generations. What happened was they had stopped teaching. Jacob taught his sons. They went into Egypt as a family, 70 strong. They came out a nation, but they came out a nation that didn't know Abba. They didn't know Abba. They hadn't kept. That's why when we get there and we start to see it, he had to reiterate. And hopefully in my teaching, you'll see that even on Shavuot, after his resurrection, it was a reiteration. He was renewing. My commandments, my statutes. Okay, let's go to, what was that? Exodus 16:1, was that where I was at? It was the, okay. This was the second month there, right? So we're looking at about 3 or 4 weeks. Now let's go to Exodus 19:1. Exodus 19:1. In the what? In the 3rd month now. So we're counting from Shabbat, unleavened bread. You got the 15th day of the second month. Now we're in the third month when the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt. The same day came they in the wilderness of Sinai. And we're going to see what was given in Sinai. So we're in the third month now. So if you go back from the time as we lead up to chapter 20, but if you go back, you'll see that they actually did 7 Sabbaths, and we're in the third month now. And Moshe went up, Moshe went up to Elohim, and Yahuwah called him unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Yasharal. So he starts to give Moshe some instructions, but through this chapter, he starts to, let's look at verse number 5. Now, therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed, keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Yasharal. Does this sound familiar? Verse 5 and 6, does that sound familiar? Who else said that? First Peter, 1 Kepha 2 and 9. So 1 Kepha 2 and 9 now, that's after the Shavuot. In fact, that's towards the end of his life. So we're talking about years after the first Shavuot. So what he was saying, what Kepha did was he went back and quoted and pulled from the first Shavuot, and he brings it back into his letters, because we're going to find out that he didn't make nothing new. He renewed the covenant. He renewed it. He didn't go back and let's start something new. He didn't start something new when they came out of Egypt. Before Shavuot, like we see in Exodus 16, he says, how long y'all ain't going to keep my commandments and my laws now? So we have here where he's going to make a covenant with them. He says, I'm going to make a covenant with you, and I want you to keep my covenant. If you obey my voice and you be obedient unto me and keep my covenant, then all of these promises and everything else is going to happen unto you. So we get up to Exodus. Let's go down to the last couple of verses in this chapter here, because we're going to lead on up to, because he tells them, you got to prepare the people. I want you to prepare the people. They were supposed to fast 3 days. Okay. They weren't supposed to, the married men were not supposed to be with their wives for 3 days, because he was preparing them for Shavuot. He was preparing them for Shavuot. Now, some were saying, well, are we to prepare ourselves for Shavuot like they did in fasting and prayer? And fasting would be in order. Fasting is in order anytime. Let's real quick. Let's go to Exodus 34. Well, the first time he went up, Exodus 24, is it 24 and 18? Let's see, 24:18. Exodus 24:18. And Moses went to the midst of the cloud and gat him up in the mount. And Moshe was in the mount for how many days? 40 days and 40 nights. 40 days and 40 nights he was up in the mount. So in that time period, because in the 24th chapter here, this is after the outpouring of Exodus 20. Now, I don't have to go through Exodus 20 because what's in Exodus 20? What do we know what's in Exodus 20? That's the commandments. That's the 10 commandments. He gave out the 10 commandments in Exodus 20. So he gives them further instruction. And last week we were talking about in Exodus 23, right? We were in Exodus 23 last week because we were talking about the feast of Pesach, unleavened bread, 7 Sabbaths you got leading up to Shavuot. And that was in Exodus 23. In Exodus 24, it says, they told Moshe, now whatever Most High Yah tells you, we're going to do it. So they actually said, I do. In fact, the 7th verse of this chapter is when Yasharal says, I do. The vows were given and Yasharal says, I do. And that's in the 7th verse of this chapter. And so they were so afraid, they told Moshe, you go up and talk to the Most High Yah. Whatever he says, that's what we're going to do. We don't want to talk to him because they were pretty much afraid. So Moshe goes up into the cloud in the mount, and he's up there for 40 days and 40 nights. Let's go to Exodus 31 and 17. Exodus 31, 17. Now this is a sign. The reason why I'm reading this is because he's coming to the end of his 40 days. It is a sign between me and the children of Yasharal forever. For in 6 days Yahuwah made heaven and earth, and on the 7th day he rested and was refreshed. And he gave unto Moshe, when he had made an end of communion with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone, written with the finger of Elohim. What did he give Moses? What did he give Moshe? What did he give him? Yes. What else did he give him? Right here. He gave him 2 tables of testimony, right? Tables of stone written with the finger of Elohim. So the first time he was up there for 40 days and 40 nights, it was the Most High Yah that gave him the tables of stone. It was the Most High Yah that carved them out and wrote on them with his own finger. Just remember that. Remember that.
So this is the second visit?
No, this is the first one. It's the first one.
So he got the tablets of stone and he got the tablets of testimony?
Yeah, the 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone. The 2 tables were the tables of testimony that were made out of stone, written with his finger. Yes, yes. So just keep that in mind. The Most High Yah gave Moshe the tables of stone. Okay? Right. They call it the law of Moses. It's the law of Yahuwah. It's Yah's law. It's his commandments. And a lot of people say, we ain't under Moses no more. They weren't either. They weren't either. Moses he was the one that was giving it to him. Those are my commandments. That's my law. That's Most High Yah saying that. That's my law. That's my commandment. So when they say that, we're no longer under law, we're under grace. Moses, he's the one we're not under the law of Moses anymore. It wasn't his law in the first place. And they say that because they don't understand Shaul in his teaching. Because by the time Shaul came on the scene, they had already had the scribe of the pen who was giving them the oral law. The oral law was already there at the time of our Messiah. How do you know the oral law was there? he gives us examples in the Gospels. Yes.
I can't remember. Is there somewhere in the Torah that it says that back in like I guess Paul's days or whatever, they would be Yahusha would be found in the temple on the Shabbat. They would be teaching Moses' law.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean that, and I've seen. I'm pretty sure I've read that multiple times in Torah. So I see why people are confused, equating it with Moses, that's his law. But when you unpack it there, it was given to him from Yahuwah. It's his law.
Yes.
Right? But it's peppered throughout the Torah, Moses' law.
Right. Because they respected Moses. I mean, it gives us an example in Exodus here when he came down from the mount the second time, not the first 40 days, but the second 40 days. When he came down from the mount, how did he appear? He was glowing. His face was like fluorescent, or now it'd be an LED bulb. That's how his face was shine. It shined so much that people were afraid. They afraid of him. And the elder says, Mo, you got to put something on your face because the people, they're not going to hear you. They're afraid of you. So he had to cover his face when he spoke to the people. But when he went into the temple to commune with the Most High Yah, he'd take his veil off. But he had to wear that because the people were afraid of him because he was lit up like a light bulb. I mean, he was in the presence of the Most High, because it wasn't until his second 40 days and 40 nights that he asked the Most High Yah, can I see you? Can I see you? And he says, I'm going to hide you in the cleft of the rock, and then I'm going to pass by you, and you can see my hinder parts, but you can't see my face. So when he did that, it lit him up. So when he comes out of the mountain now, and I think that's in the last verse in 33, I think. When he comes out of the mountain now, I mean, he's lit up, but that was his second ascent. So this was written. This is the first time. Now let's go to Exodus. Exodus 30. What's the last verse in Exodus 32? Let's look at Exodus 32 and that last verse. Okay, so after 31. So after 31, after he wrote the commandment with his own finger, right? So that's at the 31. Now go up to the first verse of 32. Go up to the first verse here. And when the people saw that Moshe delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aharon and said unto him, up, make us gods, which shall go before us. For this Moshe, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we want not what is become of him. Because for 40 days and 40 nights, after they made the commitment to enter into a marriage and the covenant with the Most High Yah, and the blood was shed, because that's in Exodus 24, the blood was shed, and they committed unto the Most High Yah. In less than 40 days, they broke covenant. In less than 40 days, they broke covenant. So let's go to Exodus 34, and what is it, verse 7? Let's see verse 7 first. Let's look at verse number 6. Because by the time we get here to 34, he has already dealt with the children of Israel. And just to kind of save some time, we can go back and pick some of this up later, but to save some time, we're just going to move forward. Because he dealt with Israel. After that lamb was, they made that lamb, and they went a-whoring after those gods. Then when Moshe came down, he burned up that lamb in the water and then made him what? Or calf, I'm sorry, calf, yeah. They made that calf, and he made them drink it. And he killed a lot of people were killed because of that. But let's look at what happens now. And Yahuwah passed by before him and proclaimed, Yahuwah Elohim, merciful, gracious, long-suffering, and abundant in kindness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, and that will by no means clear the guilty. He's not going to clear the guilty. Visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and upon the children's children unto the third and fourth generations. And then not today, but we'll see how when you get to Yakazakal, what was the people's complaint in Yakazakal? The prophet Ezekiel, they call him Ezekiel. What was the people's complaint? The fathers have sinned, right? And the penalty for that was passed down to what? To the children. So the fathers have sinned, but the children's teeth are set on edge. They're saying they are our fathers sin. And so Most High Yah says, I'm going to deal with everybody individually. He says, I'm going to deal with all y'all individually. So no longer will it be that proverb be said, because the fathers have sinned, the children's teeth are set on edge. But that's Yakazakal. But upon the children's children unto the third and fourth generations. Okay, let's go down to verse. Let's go down some. I want to go down to, I think it's verse. So we have here, this is the covenant being renewed. He renews the covenant. He had to renew the covenant because the people broke it already. In less than 40 days, they broke it. So he tells them what he's going to do. Let's go on down. He tells them about the people that he's going to drive out and don't make any covenant with them. But he wants them to destroy their altars and their images and cut down the groves. For thou shalt worship no other El, for Yahuwah, who is what? His name is jealous. Yahuwah, whose name is jealous, is a jealous Elohim. He is jealous of you. Every time you get caught up in these pagan holidays, he's jealous of you. He tells them, thou shalt not worship no other El. That's why I heard this, and I heard this from Dr. Kenneth Howard. He says, if it's a holiday and it's on a Sunday, first day of the week, 99% of the time it's a pagan holiday. Because we're in a pagan nation that honors the sun god. They honor the sun god. They're sun worshipers. That's why every image that you see of the Messiah, what does he have behind his head? The sun. The sun. Sun. It's Sol Invictus, the sun god. So whenever they have, and look at all the holidays that fall on Sunday. Look at almost, and all of them are pagan. All of them. Well, we're coming up on a holiday. Now for us, our covenant says, honor thy father and thy mother. How long? All the days of your life. It ain't one day out of the year. You got some folks that will cuss out their mama. And one day out of the year, they'll bring them flowers. That ain't none but pagan. That ain't none but pagan. He says, if you rise up against your father or mother, what was that? That was a death penalty. That was capital punishment. There was no offering you can bring. There was no sacrifice that you could bring. Oh, I'm sorry. I just struck my father. I'm struck my mother. I'm sorry. Here, can you take my sacrifice? Wasn't no sacrifice. You couldn't bring no sacrifice. You rose up against your parents. That's it. Corporal punishment, huh? Man, but see, we're not raised in that culture. We're not in that culture. We're not living in the culture of our ancestors. And one thing that was said about me was he's changing his culture. Well, I'm trying to get back to our ancestors when all this was given. If you want to go back to this, you must change your culture. Because we know what Exodus 23:13 says. He says, I don't want you worshiping no other else. He says, don't even make mention of them. Don't even let it come out your what? Exodus 23:13. He said, I don't even want you to make mention of it. Don't even let it come out your mouth. So whenever we have these pagan holidays, it's in our best interest to do some research. And I know we don't, because we don't like books and we don't like to research. So whatever they tell us, well, it must be okay. My pastor said it was okay. Gonna find out. But when you do find out, it's gonna be too late. That's the thing. That's the scary thing. Because he says, I'm only giving you an opportunity to get it right in your lifetime. I give you time and space to get it right. But when you die, what's coming after that? Judgment. When you die, judgment's coming. Well, they wouldn't let me. They forced me. I can see if you're a child, but when you become an adult, you have adult responsibility and adult accountability. So as an adult now, I know mom and daddy might have said one thing, and I know my pastor might say something, but I'm going to do my own research because I know what Abba Yah says. And he's jealous. He's jealous. He says, lest you make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land and go a-whoring after their elves and do sacrifice unto their elves. And one call thee and thou eat of his sacrifice. Thanksgiving. Because that ain't for Yasharal. 4th of July. Man, he's taking everything from me. I ain't taking nothing from you. I'm just trying to teach you the word. You have to make your decision. Because when we get in the land and we're a nation, you ain't doing none of that. And we're in the time of preparation. We're in the time of preparation because it's not going to be too much longer. Let's go on down. I want to get down to, let's see what's verse. Thou shalt not make thee no molten ales. The feast of unleavened bread shalt thou keep. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, as I commanded thee in the time of the month of Abib. For in the month of Abib thou camest out of Egypt. So he goes back and refreshes their memory. Let's go on down. Verse 6 days thou shalt work, but on the 7th day thou shalt rest. In earing time and in harvest thou shalt rest. And thou shalt observe the feast of weeks, which is Shavuot, of the first fruits of wheat harvest, and the feast of ingathering at the year's end, which is Tabernacles, or Sukkot. Thrice in the year shall all your men, children appear before the Dan Yahuwah, the Elohim of Yasharal. For I will cast out the nations before thee and enlarge thy borders, neither shall any man desire thy land. Thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leaven. Remember we talked about that the other day? When you present your body as a living sacrifice unto him, it's not supposed to be with leaven. And when we went through unleavened bread, that's why we had to prepare. The preparation of unleavened bread preceded unleavened bread. How do we know that? Because they were told to go through their houses and check to see and get everything out. So you're preparing for unleavened bread, because when you offer up your sacrifice, it can't be with leaven. So when we present our bodies and we go before him, even when there was sin in the camp, if you sinned, you had to give your sacrifice. You had to go through a period to where you were purified. And some sins you were unclean until the even or the evening time. You could not enter into the congregation. You were outside until the evening time. After your sacrifice was offered and accepted, then you had to wait till the evening time before you can actually be a part of the congregation again. Because you're not supposed to offer up a sacrifice with sin. So if they sin, and I know now we don't offer up sacrifices, but when you confess that sin, that's supposed to be it. You're repenting of it. You're putting it away. We're not supposed to then appear before him with the same sin. So we just committed. That's why he got to the point. He says, I'm tired of your sacrifice. I'm tired of it because you sin and you bring an offering or a sacrifice, no change in the heart. So what do? You go back and you sin again. And then you want to bring another offering. He says, I'm tired of it. He said, you keep them. I'm tired because he wanted the circumcision in the heart. And it even says that in Deuteronomy and in Exodus. He says, I want to circumcise your heart. So the circumcision of the heart, not the flesh, is not a new doctrine. He was teaching Moshe that in the wilderness, the circumcision of the heart. The problem was they didn't have their heart circumcised. Okay, let's go on down. And he was there with Yahuwah 40 days and 40 nights. He did neither eat bread nor drink water, and he wrote upon the tables the words of the covenant, the 10 commandments. Keep that verse, but I want to go to keep that verse here. Let's go to the first verse of 34 and 1. And then we're going to go down to 28. And Yahuwah said unto Moshe, hew thee 2 tables of stone like unto the first, and I will write upon these tables the words that were in the first tables which thou breakest. See anything different there? Second go round?
Based on the context, you say you broke the first one, so now I got to redo it again.
The first one, Yahuwah had to carve cut the tablets out, and here it looks like Moshe has to carve out his own table.
Right. The first, because see, I thought in the Ark of the Covenant, the tablets that's there has the printing or the handwriting of the Most High Yah on it. That's not true. That's what I thought until I start doing more study. The first tablets, the first table of stone, let's keep it here. We're bookmark this, Exodus 31:17. Exodus 31:17. Exodus 31:17. Okay, verse 18. And he gave unto Moshe, and he gave unto Moshe, and he gave unto Moshe when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai. What did he give him? 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone written with the finger of Elohim. So the first table was the ones that he cut out himself, and he wrote on it himself. But Moses didn't keep them. So let's look at Exodus 34 and 1. Exodus 34 and 1. And Yahuwah said unto Moses, now you do it. Hew thee out 2 tables of stone like unto. the people will cause the man to sin. The people will. A couple of times, Musha did something that was, if he would have held his cool. But his relationship with the Most High Yah, it's like the relationship I have with the Most High Yah. You would think all the people will have that kind of relationship with them. But they don't. The people don't have the relationship that Musha had with the Most High Yah. So when they erred or they wanted to do their own thing, it caused Musha did things out of character. And it's the same way today. Like people, like priests. King Shaul said, but the people wanted the best. You got some leaders can't preach against paganism because the people. I ain't taking away Christmas from them. They all will leave my church because it's your church. It's your church. It ain't his. Oh, I ain't go. Man, I'm not cutting out Easter Sunday because that's when we get our biggest offering. We get 3 big offerings a year. Easter, Mother's Day, and Christmas. Yeah. Yeah. The people can cause leaders to change and to do things. He says, okay, you do it yourself now, Moses, because you broke the first ones. I didn't tell you to break them. But Musha was so upset with the people. Joshua says, it sounds like the noise of war. Musha said, hey, it ain't no noise of war what I hear. No, that ain't sound like no noise of war. That sounds like partying. Them folks is partying. And when he came down from the mount and he seen the golden calf, he was so upset with the people that he broke the tablets, which was the tables that the Most High Yah carved out and wrote in them. Let's see this. And I will write upon these tables the words that were written in the first tablets which thou breakest. Notice now. Now let's go down to verse 28. Let's go down to verse 28. And he was there with Yahuwah 40 days and 40 nights. He did neither eat bread nor drink water. And he wrote upon the tables the words of the covenant, the 10 commandments. So now he's letting Musha write on it instead of the Most High Yah's own finger. Because those tablets were broken. These are the tablets that's in the Ark of the Covenant, written with Musha's writing on it, instead of the Most High Yah. People can cause leaders a lot of problems. The people can. 40 days and 40 nights. He did what? He didn't eat no bread, nor. And that's where we get fasting from, right? Is that where we get fasting from? He didn't eat no bread, didn't drink no water. Let's look at Daniel chapter 10. Daniel chapter 10, verse number 2. In those days, I, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks. I ate no pleasant bread, neither came flesh nor wine in my mouth. Neither did I anoint myself at all till 3 whole weeks were fulfilled. This is the Daniel. Daniel fast. We call it the Daniel fast, right? No pleasant bread, no wine, and he didn't even anoint himself for 3 full weeks. So let's go to Matthew chapter 6, Matthew 6 and verse 16. Matthew 6:16. Moreover, when ye fast, be not as the hypocrites of a sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces, that they may appear unto men to fast. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. But thou, when thou fastest, what are you supposed to do? Anoint thy head and what? That thou appear not unto men to fast, but unto thy Abba, which is in secret. And thy Abba, which seeth in secret, is going to reward thee openly. So you've got Musha fasting, you've got Daniel fasting, and then you got Yahusha explaining the type of fast that we should do. This is the type of fast when you fast from food. Well, you make it sound like Isaiah 55 and verse number 6. Seek ye Yahuwah while he may be found, call ye upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. Listen, listen. And let him return unto Yahuwah, and he will have mercy upon him, and to our Elohim, for he will abundantly pardon. Listen to what Yahuwah says. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith Yahuwah, right? So my thoughts are not his thoughts, and his ways are not my ways. We might think we are aligned with him, and we want to be aligned with him, and we want to be one with him, but we have to always remember that as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. So I have to always remember, as far as the heaven, so in my thinking and my thoughts and in my ways, I want to be like the Most High. I want to be like Yahusha. I'll be closer to the Most High Yah when I am formed in the image of Yahusha. But I have to always remember that his thoughts are way above my thoughts, and his ways are way above my ways, as heaven is from earth. So a lot of times when we think, I'm getting it, man. I'm really getting it. I'm really thinking. I mean, my thoughts are his thoughts and my ways are his ways. I'm really thinking. So let's see. Let's see. Isaiah 58 and verse number 3. Wherefore have we fasted, say they, and thou what? We're fasting. I don't do a Moses fast. and then we want to do a Daniel fast of 3 weeks. But we do fast. And we know that when we do fast, the teaching of Yahusha is I can't look like I'm fasting. Tongue hanging out, dragging on the ground. Hair ain't cold. Hobo boots on. You put on those jeans that you haven't put in the wash machine for about 3 weeks and you've been working outside in those jeans and you want to finish the project before you put them in the wash machine? You put on it, and you want folks to see you. Man, that brother got it rough, man. And you might not even put no deodorant on for a few days. I'm fasting y'all to feel sorry for. Yahusha says, you're going to get your reward. Your reward is men seeing you. He says, but when you fast, you don't even supposed to look like you're fasting. Because there is a fast that we should do leading up to Shabbat. We have a fast leading up to Shabbat. But, well, let's read. So what they're saying is, how come we're fasting and you don't see it? I'm turning my plate aside. I'm fasting from midnight to noon. Some people say, I fast all night long from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And you sleeping. Okay, we want to fast, y'all. I want y'all to pick your fast. I know which one I'm picking, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. because I'm sleeping. I ain't fasting 6 a to 6 p. No, I'm fasting. Wherefore have we afflicted our soul? Because when you go on those fasts, that is an affliction for you. If you want this body to be afflicted, don't feed it. Don't feed it. And we know that. And they're saying, hey, we afflicted our soul and thou takest no knowledge. Behold, in the day of your fast, what do? You find pleasure and exact all your labors. No, Most High Yah. No. No, Most High Yah. Because see, some of us, we don't, remember now, we can't, his ways, his thoughts are so much higher than us. So when it says, ye exact your labors, behold, in the day of your fast, ye find pleasure, you're finding pleasure in the fast, in the day that you fast. Because some of us might fast from midnight to noon, and after noon comes, man, we just busting out, we eating, and we're doing all of our pleasure. And he says you exact your labor. Exacting your labors is you're charging for your service. Well, ain't that what we're supposed to do? Ain't that what we're supposed to do? Behold, ye fast for what? Strife and debate. Because some of y'all just love strife and love to debate. Some homes, they just ain't no peace. And y'all know if you can't find peace at home, it's hard to find peace in the neighborhood. And if you can't find peace in the neighborhood, there ain't no peace in the community. Because it all goes back to home. Strife, debate, and to smite with the fist of wickedness. The fist of wickedness, you're bold. You know you're wrong, but you're bold with it. Boldness. Because we're so messed up in this culture, they glamorize and promote wickedness to where our children and our young people and our, raise up and our young adults and everything, if you ain't wicked, something's wrong with you. That's how backwards it is. We want you to be wicked. If you ain't wicked, you can't run with us. No. So we teach our children the right thing and to speak right, present themselves right. You don't need to speak profanity, all of that. And they get around school and some of these other people, and they're so bold with it. If you don't start cussing, you can't run with us. and our boys, we're trying to preserve them and everything, but the system is trying to make girls out of them and turn our sons into homeless, because the warfare is to kill all of our sons. Either put them in jail, have them strung out on drugs, crack cocaine, fentanyl now, have them strung out, turn them into homosexuals, or kill them. That's our sons. I mean, these folks are bold with wickedness. Ye shall not fast as ye do this day to make your what? Voice to be heard on high. Because when you fast and you're afflicting yourselves and you're praying, prayer with fasting. So you're trying to do this to make your voice heard on high. So what does the Most High Yah says? Is it such a fast that I have chosen? What you're doing? A day for a man to afflict his soul, because you're being afflicted in your fast. In order to get this flesh under control, I have to afflict it. I want to fast to get this flesh under control. Is it to bow down his head as a bulrush and to spread sackcloth and ashes under him? And Yahusha kind of dealt with it when he says, you know, when you're fasting, clean yourself up. Act as if you're not fasting. Spreading the sackcloth and ashes. Who sat in sackcloth and ashes? Job sat in sackcloth and ashes. So when anybody was repenting, they would sit in sackcloth and ashes. It was a feeling of affliction. It's time to hurt. I'm actually wanting to feel some pain as I'm going through this repenting process. Sackcloth and ashes under him. Wilt thou call this a fast? That's what you call a fast? And an acceptable day of Yahweh? He's asking questions. He's asking questions, right? That's the fast that you've chosen. Now let's see the fast that the Most High Yah chooses. Is not this the fast that I have chosen? To loose the bands of wickedness. I'm going to go on a fast. And my fast is that electronic device in my house is destroying my children. So my fast is to loose the band of wickedness. Roll this up, verse 6. To loose the band of wickedness for 21 days. No handheld devices in my house. We're going to fast. Oh, wait a minute. No. I thought a fast was to afflict my flesh. He says, this is the fast that I've called. I want you to call a fast to where you can loose that band. Your house is full of wickedness. And you can't see it. Your house is being destroyed. And you ain't doing nothing about it. So let the Most High Yah call a fast. I want you to break them bands of wickedness. That you got a stronghold. It says we are supposed to tear down the strongholds. Isn't that what it said? That's what Shaul said. Tear down those strongholds. I want you to loose the bands of wickedness. What does he want you to do? Undo the what? He said, lay aside every weight and what? The sin that does what? So easily beset you. Some of them he says, man, y'all got some heavy burdens. Sometimes I see it, I'm wondering why is folks so heavy burdened? Stuff going on at home. Problem with the kids. Problem with the grandkids. All of this trouble in school. Trouble on the job. Trouble. I got so many heavy burdens. And on top of that, I can't live right. I put heavy burdens on myself. I done stayed up all Friday night. When we was kids, I don't know, anybody, we used to watch Acre Creature Feature. Yeah. Remember that? Acre Creature Feature on Saturday. We were up almost all Saturday night watching Acre Creature Feature. And then try to go to church the next day and trying to clear your mind. From all that stuff. It's worse now. Oh, it's worse now. They got fists of wickedness now. They have shows called Lucifer. They have all kind of demonic stuff going on. It's been in the news recently. Public schools have a night, they've been fighting for the right to have a night for the Satan's Club. Have y'all heard about that?
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 before COVID. They wanted that. It was at one of the schools in my district. They wanted the Antichrist Club or something like
Yeah, Antichrist Club, Satan Club. And said, we got a right. We got a right to have a club that honors Lucifer, Satan, Antichrist.
they just shut all clubs down.
Yeah,
Nobody could have a club.
that's a fast. So when they try to do that and the school says, hey, we're shutting it all down. Well, that's a fast to the Most High. Hey, we're going to undo these heavy burdens. You're trying to put that heavy burden on my child? Oh, no. We're going to undo that. We're going to undo some heavy burdens. And to let the oppressed go free. Do you know when people are oppressed, when you let them go free, that's like a fast to the Most High Yah. And we've been oppressed so long. And still oppressed in a lot of ways. Still oppressed. But there's a time coming where the oppressed are going to go free. And that ye break every yoke. I got a yoke of my life. And I'm just trying to give some examples. Every time I get on my device, a yoke is on me and it leads me to some type of wickedness or corruption. It's a yoke. It's a yoke. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to eliminate my device. I'm going to break that yoke. So what I'm going to do is for 21 days, I'm not picking it up. Because I got to break that yoke. I can't, as long as I have it, every time I pick up my device, it leads me, it's pulling, something's pulling me there. It's a yoke. Y'all, do you know what a yoke is? A yoke is a tandem device. That's why Yahusha says, put my yoke upon you. Learn of me. It's a tandem device, so you walking with me. But instead, we've got yokes, other kind of yokes that's on us that every time it turns, you turn. Every time it goes straight, you go straight. It go this way, I go this way. Sometimes you look at people, you wonder, man, do y'all got any control? Do you have any kind of control? Because if you don't, go on a fast. I like, and I'm honest now, I like gangster movies. And there be times I'm rooting for them gangs, man. To where if I rather have evil than good, and I'm gravitated to that evil, that becomes a yoke on me. There's a problem if the only entertainment you like is a lot of shooting and blood, killing and blood and guts and graphic killing. I mean, people getting their heads cut off and hearts ripped out, and you see folks get shot with bullets and blood squirting and flesh flying out, and yeah, come on, you got your popcorn. Yeah, get them, kill them. Oh, I'm attracted to a lot of that stuff. Gangster movies, a lot of kill them, shoot them up. That will affect you. I'm calling a fast. I'm not watching that. I gotta break that yoke. I gotta break that yoke. I know what it's doing to me. If I'm at the point to where I want to carry a firearm and be ready to shoot and kill because of what I see on the TV constantly, is it a gangster movie? Is it a killer movie? Somebody gonna die in this movie? That's what I want to see. My mind gets contaminated. It becomes a yoke. I got to call a fast from the Most High Yah. I got to break that yoke. I got to get that off my mind. Y'all don't have no problems. Y'all don't have no problems. I have problems. I got a few problems. I break some of them yokes. I got to come up off that stuff. Because he says, isn't this a fast that I've chosen? Is it not to deal thy bread to the hungry? You mean folks are hungry? You know they're hungry. You know they're hungry. And you don't do anything. You don't do anything. I don't like them. Because y'all know how we do sometimes. We see folks in need. I don't like them. So what he says is, well, why don't you feed the hungry? Just go on a fast for 7 days feeding hungry folk. That's a fast at the moment. I don't want my neighbors, and usually when people come around here, we'll feed. Nobody coming around here can say, well, I'm hungry, because we'll feed you. Oh yeah, some food downstairs. We've taken people places to get them some food. We've given them money, knowing that they ain't probably gonna buy no food with it anyway. But if you say you're hungry, we're gonna feed you now. We ain't gonna let nobody around here go hungry. So we're gonna feed the hungry, and that thou bring the poor that are cast out to thy house. Now we don't do that. We don't do that. It's too dangerous now. It's just too dangerous. But this is a fast that the Most High Yah calls. When thou seest the naked, what do? Cover him. Notice now, in the 25th chapter of Matthew, when he gathers all the nations together and he separates the sheep from the goat, what does he say? When I was naked, what did you do? When I was hungry, you fed me. When I was in prison, you visited me. He goes on this list of things and then they said, when did we see you like that? When did we see you like that? And he says, when you did it to one of these, my brethren, you've done it unto me. So when I was naked, you covered me, and that thou hide not thyself from thy own flesh. So you don't hide yourself from your flesh or your health, your natural health. People, and this is the danger of the Roman religion. Oh, you can eat anything you want to eat. Just pray over it. He says that thou hide not thyself from thy own flesh. Yahuchanan picks it up and says, I would that you prosper and be in health, even as your. So you can't forget your own flesh. I'm going on a fast to where I'm going to get into a fitness program. You know, I was going on a fast, and it only lasted about 3 or 4 days. And my fast was, I was taking my dog for a walk. That was my fast. I'm taking my dog for a walk. I had a leash for him. I'm taking him out every day. I'm taking them for, it was a fast because I had to remember my flesh. I'm starting to get to where my pant size is growing. Right? I mean, I think I'm done growing up. I'm just growing out now. So if I want to remember my own flesh, I know that's not healthy for me. You know, I have my annual physical. I get my blood work done annually. And the last 2 years I went in for my annual physical, I've had weight gain. And he says, well, you need to probably just need to walk, just have a walking regimen, 45 minutes. He said, you don't have to run. You don't, just like on the verge of sweating. You don't even have to sweat. Just kind of get into a cadence and walk and just have that. I said, man, okay, I can do that. I'm an athlete. I still think I'm an athlete. It's been a number of years, right? But once an athlete, always an athlete. Deacon Parker thought he could go play for the Quad City Thunder. He's going to be a running back. It's been a number of years, but once you have that in your mind and you're an athlete, man, that stuff stays there. You got folks in their 60s, 70s, they still think I remember when. That's all it is, a memory. Because you sure don't look like it. This was when my kids was at Davenport North and running track, and I seen them out there running track. Oh, man. I was like, man, I want to get out there and run. I start to feel it and everything. And one of the coaches who knew me, and I said, man, you remember we used to run? I said, man, I'm going to get my shoes. I want to get out here. I want to run. He says, don't do it. He said, it'll be ugly. That's what he said. It would be ugly. Because I was just going back to the days of my youth when I was running around the track. He says, don't do it. Which was wisdom, because I probably would have, if he would have said, yeah, man, come on, get out here and run with these young guys, and I probably would have went home or somewhere and got me some shoes. And it would have been ugly. But he says that thou hide not thyself from thine own flesh. It's not his will that we suffer all these type of diseases and be sick like this and be in poor health. That's not his will. That's not his will. And I know the Roman religion and the Christian church has told us for generations, oh, you don't do no exercise. Why are you exercising? Bodily exercise profiteth little. He said little. He didn't say nothing. This is one thing, because we don't do no critical research of the scriptures or Paul's writings or any writings for that fact. But, and I'm going to finish up with this. Because we can go on. But Shaul, who died before, when I say Shaul, I'm talking about Paul, who died before the destruction of Jerusalem. When was the destruction of Jerusalem? 70 AD. Destruction of Jerusalem was 70 AD. So Shaul wrote before, he died before the destruction of 70 AD. Shaul did. In his writings now, Shaul, one thing that he said was that if you're not married, don't get married. Just stay single. If you're not married, don't get married. Now, where would we be if everybody did that for 2,000 years? If we taught our children don't get married, what would happen? We would die out. There once was a people, but they followed. Somebody told them to teach your kids not to get married. Why? Because Paul said don't get married. What? The reason why he said that, and the reason why Paul said a number of things, is because he thought the end or the return of our Messiah was going to be in his lifetime. So he said that if you're single, don't even worry about, don't get married. If you are loose from a wife, don't look at getting married again. No, we ain't got time for that. He's going to return in my lifetime. That was 2,000 years ago. So when he said bodily exercise profiteth little, he's looking at, brothers and sisters, right now, with the return of our Messiah being so immediate, I wouldn't even worry about bodily exercise. Don't even worry about it. Because it's not going to do much for you anyway. And that's probably why, and you know what? That's probably why a lot of us are in bad health. Because we don't understand Shaul and his writings and what he was referring to in his day and time. Because Yahuchanan says, I would that you would prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospereth. And even when they had the council, in Acts, the 15th chapter, they had that council there. The first things that they only dealt with two things really, well, three, idolatry, your diet, and fornication. That's about all they dealt with at that time. Is that everything? No, that's not everything. There's definitely more than that, but that was just what they were dealing with at that time. It was what was the most prominent issues of the day. We have to look at how the book is written. We don't read it how it's written. Remember I was telling you guys that? We don't read it how it's written. We just read it how they told us to read it. Sometimes I wish we'd take off that Roman, get out of them Roman eyes. We're so Romanized. Stop looking at it through the Roman lens and read it how it's written. Understand how it's written. Because the Most High Yah, He really wants you to be in good health. Everything about Torah and the instructions and the teaching of Torah is that you could be presented before Him. And if you think He wants you presented before Him in health issues and out of shape and when you sit around the house, you sit around the house. I mean, He doesn't want us to be like that. He didn't want that. He wanted us. Oh, I can go. I don't want to. I'm going to stop. I think I made enough people mad. But so we're coming up to Shavuot. So let's keep that in mind as we count the Shabbats, and we will have a Shabbat lesson up this Shabbat. And I want to still go down to where we get to Shavuot and how it was poured out, the initial covenant, when they made the covenant. He did give them commandments through Abraham, Yishak, and Jacob. That was supposed to be teaching, a generational teaching. But when they came out of Egypt, it wasn't a family, it was a nation, and he made a covenant with that nation. And that was the first Shavuot. The first Shavuot, or the first Pentecost, was a covenant that he made with a nation. And they said, I do. I think it's, real quick, I know it's time to go. Everybody's getting sleepy. Exodus 24 and 7. And then that's it. But Exodus 24 and 7, what does he say? Exodus 24 and 7. And he took the book of the covenant and read it in the audience of the people. And they say, all that Yahuwah have said, what? And what? And we will do and be obedient. And that was the vows that they had made unto the Most High Yah. And when you finish reading that, he made a covenant with them. And blood was spilled. So that was the first Shavuot. So when we get to the Shavuot after his resurrection, in order to understand the Shavuot after his resurrection, we have to go to the first one. The first one, because if we're under the understanding that the Shavuot after the resurrection was totally different and something different than the first Shavuot, then we're not understanding Torah. We're not understanding Torah. Because that first Shavuot was the outpouring or the teaching from Musha, the outpouring and the covenant, and it was sealed with blood. And this Shavuot, when he renews the covenant, it's a renewed covenant. And it was sealed with blood, the blood of our Messiah, Yahushua Mashiach. And through that blood, if we are obedient unto him and we keep that covenant unto him, those who keep it will enter into life and life everlasting. So we'll talk about the day of Pentecost that they call the day of Pentecost. And we're going to keep it June 4th. June 4th is when we'll have the Feast of Shavuot, and that'll start at 11 o'clock here. And then after we have our celebration service, and then we're going to break bread. So with that, no questions. Yes.
No question, but a funny comment. Ruby said, I missed track too.
Huh?
She said she misses track too. And
Oh,
she's like dying laughing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, we got to be careful. We get caught up in those. I guess it's okay to reflect, but when you try to get physical in your reflection, that can be ugly. It's like if Deacon Parker would have went out there and played. If he would have put some helmet and pads on, it would have been ugly. He would have got her. And try to mix it up with them young guys. Man, they come out there like cannonballs, man. They missiles, man. Them linebackers, man. They 250, 260 pounds, like a missile coming at you. Those dudes, they be playing, man. We get hit a couple times, man, on the muscles and the bones. No, I'm not doing this anymore. I done wised up. I'll walk, I'll exercise, I'll do whatever I can because I got to remember my flesh. I got to remember my flesh, take into mind, take into consideration my flesh, keeping that in shape, but also knowing that if I give in to the flesh, Shaul says these are the works of the flesh. So I have to remember my flesh. I'm vulnerable. And most of it, you got to know what your vulnerabilities are. You got to know what can trip you up. Because Shaul says, abstain from all appearances of evil. I mean, if you know that's a problem to you, you better stay away from it. I'm stay away from it. That's a problem. I got to remember my flesh. Any questions, comments? If not, then we're going to say Baruch, which is blessed. Haba, which is he that cometh. Hashem, in his name. Yahuwah. Blessed he that cometh in the name of the Lord. That's what it says in English, but in Hebrew, which he spoke, he said, Baruch haba Hashem Yahuwah. Baruch haba.